All right, welcome everyone. My name is Chris Thorson. I'm Senior Director of Product Marketing here at Poly. And today's topic is security and protection. And I have a special guest with me from Poly, David Danto, our Director of UC Strategy and Research. Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Hey, good to see you, Chris.
So for those people that don't know you, if you could just maybe give a brief overview about yourself, what you do here for us at Poly, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Sure, absolutely. I'm in my oh God, fourth decade in this industry. But the key part about that is the first 30 years are as an end user. So I bring a really strong end user perspective. It's great to be with Poly, and I've been with Poly a year now. The idea is my role kind of connects the engineers and folks like yourselves and some of the product marketing people with the actual end users to make sure that you want to be building the products that people need and putting in the features that people need, and to whatever extent that I can patch that together, as well as support the strategy team and support the overall mission. That's kind of what I do, and I bring that end user perspective along in the process.
And thank you for all the great work. And if you're an end user out there, reach out to Dave. He'd love to hear from you, I'm sure. So today's topic of conversation, as I mentioned, is security, right? And security is, kind of a pervasive topic in our industry. But the particular area that I want to focus on today is, we've gone through this evolution over the last several years of having these in-room purpose-built video devices, the big immersive suites and such, and those have shrunken down to some extent. But more recently, we're moving to what are more PC-based devices, or even Android-based devices, or things running in conjunction with Macs, or maybe it's software that's running on my PC that I'm just emulating in the room. And so with that, I'm imagining comes different security requirements and needs, and so we wanted to delve into that aspect in the room. So while I know the topic of the day is much about work from home, I'm really thinking about when we get back into the conference room, what are some of the things that people need to be thinking about, just generally speaking, about being secure and securing their conference rooms?
Yeah, great point, and that's really what the focus of the presentation that I was going to add to the panel at Enterprise Connect was, and what I'm still scheduled to do at Infocom this year, if that happens. But if not, I'm happy to do it online. The idea is that we have to come to an understanding that we are living in a world where the technology is moving faster than the society. And we're working with a lot of technologies that are new. We haven't really figured out what the societal implications are, and we have to at least accept from a basic understanding that every bit of collaboration technology, just like every bit of technology, is vulnerable. And we're not going to stop security breaches. We're not going to stop attacks. We're going to be smart and wise and understand what those vulnerabilities are and manage them and minimize them and mitigate the risks. And those risks are not always just the technology. If you're in a conference room and you've just done a big meeting talking about what next year's plans and earnings are going to be, does anybody bother to erase the whiteboard? You'd be surprised how often that doesn't happen. You walk into the room and you see what the last meeting was doing. Did somebody pick up the handouts and rip them up or shred them and throw them out? I worked in the financial services industry for 10, 15 years, and you would be surprised. A lot of departments have daily calls and weekly calls, and they haven't changed the password in centuries. You've got like ex-employees dialing into those calls with the same passwords. Now, some companies have, and some companies are on that. But you have to kind of be aware of some of the things that most people don't pay attention to. Also, I've been number of companies that I go to where they build these conference rooms just off the lobby, and they don't make the doors floor to ceiling, and they don't cover in the sit in the lobby in the waiting room, and you're hearing the market meeting going on. So part of it is a new way of thinking about it, not just in the technology, but thinking about how do we keep our information secure.
Yeah, that's a good point because security like I said, it's physical security, it's data security, it's personal privacy. There are big issues. When we go and kind of dive into this conference room security and thinking about the different types of devices that people might be using, I mentioned, this transition from these purpose-built devices to standards-based devices. Can you talk to me about what are those different types of devices you're seeing out there today, and what are some of the risks associated with those different types of devices?
Great point. And you need to kind of think of this on kind of a continuum or a timeline, if you prefer, or across a plane. Every system that we can use for visual collaboration has vulnerabilities. Like I said, there is no perfect. The only secure system is the one that's not plugged in.
Yeah.
When it's off, it's perfectly secure. But everything else has them. And you also have to be a little bit less of a bigot. I tend to be more of an appliance bigot. I know people in the industry tend to be, general compute bigots. You also have to look at this from all sides, because a company that manages all of its endpoints as appliances and is comfortable doing that will want to opt in that direction. A company that prefers to have their collaboration devices managed as a PC platform or a Mac platform because that's what they're comfortable with, there's no right or wrong here. It's just what you want to do. You want to think of it on terms of a scale. The most risky scale for visual collaboration is the BYOD environment, because in that case, you're bringing someone's personal general compute device into the room, a PC or a Mac. You don't know what software is on it. You don't know what malware it's been exposed to. You don't really. It's the biggest question mark, and it has the most vulnerabilities. And I guess if you're moving up the secure scale on that, the next thing more would be medium risk instead of most risk. Would probably be when you're putting an in-room compute device in. There are ways of locking them down and managing them. That are relatively good. There are ways of sweeping them and keeping an eye on them, and various platforms that work with it. But it's still a device that's built on a general compute engine. And if somehow you get through a piece of code that tells it to reveal PII or to reveal banking information or go to a movie site and buy movie tickets, it doesn't know it's not supposed to do that. If it can get through, it's still going to do that because it's built to do general computing. That's why it's a general compute device. Again, there are many ways to lock it down, but that one's a little bit more risky. And I would say that the in-room appliance, and I'm not talking about the $80,000, $90,000 boxes that were mostly air that were being sold in the industry. I'm talking about a lot of appliances that are coming out today are based on lockdown versions of Android or other operating systems. That's probably the most secure, because if it ever gets a request or a piece of malware that asks it to reveal banking information or go buy a movie ticket or put somebody's credit card in, it doesn't have that
It
information. It
doesn't
wasn't
know.
built
Yeah.
to do that. It's not in the box. So there are certainly still risks with those as well. And one of the key things is the operating system locked down? Can you install a rogue program, or can you do other types of attacks and stack attacks and things that can go on? So there are risks with all of them, but that would be how I would consider the plane, and the way to look at it is from the least risky to the most risky, with the least risk being a lockdown appliance that can't do anything if it's asked to do something.
Fantastic. Thanks. Quick question. The last one here is if you were to give folks out there listening kind of your best recommendation or something, go do this, when it comes to security, what kind of things would you tell them, or what kind of things do they need to be thinking about or need to know?
Well, it's, like I said, I've been doing this for a really, really, really long time. The gray is hereditary. You get it from your kids. And one of the things that I've learned and seen change in the industry is that the pace of change is getting quicker every day. We used to be, when I was managing the financial services enterprises, a company like Polycom back in the day, or Tandberg, or any of the players would put out a release saying, "Oh, here's our new operating, our new firmware," and people would ignore that. They would say, "You know what? We just did a big upgrade release. We want to test this on our lab. We're going to
Yeah, I don't
skip
want to
this
break
one, go to the
something,
next
or
one."
yeah, I see
Right,
what you're saying.
exactly. That logic is out the window at this point. When you get 0-day vulnerabilities, when a patch gets put out on a system, you have to put it in within hours, if not days, because somebody's discovered a new vulnerability. So you have to have a system set up where you can very rapidly test and roll out patches as they come out. And that level of criticality, that idea of being aware of what's going on, and also being aware of what systems work with other systems. Are you doing a network test? Are you doing a plugs out test? Is somebody changing something on the network? Well, you used to be able to do change control within very small groups. Now you have to do change control across entire organizations, because some things affect other things. And the idea of being smart and staying on top of things, it's moving very fast, and we have to catch up and stay quick and stay on top of it.
Yeah, so I mean, I hear you saying, different strokes for different folks. There are implications of deploying any of these platforms. Luckily enough, we offer a multitude of platforms for people to choose from. So I hope you go ahead and, if you're listening out there, check out the stuff that we have on www.poly.com. Dave, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. Hopefully this is educational. If there are other topics that you want to hear us talk about, shoot them in, send us a note on our blog posting, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks and have a great day.
Thanks, Chris.